One of the issues I was trying to bring up the other day about the subjectivist using more moral is that the language being used seems to indicate some form of measurement, like a greater distance to something or a faster journey or anything like that. These are objective statements that you would make about sort of features in the world. So if something is more moral, you're saying that this is closer to being good than it is to being bad. And when they say I'm more moral than you, but then go to say I'm a subjectivist, they're basically just saying that I'm in accordance with my own standard and that person isn't. But everybody has their own standard. And this is one of the things, especially with moral subjectivism, the truth maker is the personal opinion, so everybody's own moral standard is what makes it true for them. But if you're a non-cognitivist, then there is no real truth to moral statements, they just all have different functions. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not complaining about non-cognitivist theories, they are very interesting to look into. What I'm saying is the language becomes unclear. And sure, if the entire world were some form of subjectivists, if they was to say more moral, it would be like me going, that's the best band in the world. It doesn't mean that they are objectively the best band. It just means that they are my preferred band in the world. They give me all the feels, and that's fine. But with the topic of morality, it is very confusing because there's so much to it. And so many people are confused because they haven't spent much time looking into it. They've just concluded, oh, well, it just has to be subjective because that's what it is. And there's no real grounding there. And then they make these statements that seem to be holding people to standards above their personal opinion, because that's what you're doing. If you're saying, I'm more moral than you, or because you do this thing, you're suddenly holding that person to your standard and comparing them. Well, of course, if you've got an individual standard, you are going to adhere to it better than someone else. It becomes a bit of a nothing statement, Wherever you lie on the morality scale, it's best to be clear with the language that you're using. And realistically speaking, if moral subjectivism is the case, when you're saying, I think you're immoral for doing so, what you're actually saying is, I don't like that it's moral for you to do so, because the truth maker is the personal opinion. And if it's a non-cognitivist theory, well, technically, there's no truth to the moral statement, but you're comparing it against two certain features that potentially objective statements could be made from. And if it's in accordance with those, but I don't know. But anyway, morality is a topic I find very, very interesting, and I do change my mind on it a lot. But one of the things that I do think people need a bit more is clarity of language. And this is in all conversations. And if you're going to use statements that sound like you're measuring something, understand that sounds like you're able to give some form of objectivity to it. If you're going to hold someone to a standard above their opinion, then you're treating morality objectively. Now, that's not the case. What you're actually doing is being unclear with your language, and you're meaning something else to what you're saying, but that's what I'm trying to get through. These topics are more complicated, and people just need to take a step back and think about what they're saying a little bit more clearly.